Greetings. Let's talk about a Vanspeed capsule install on a Sprinter model 170 wheelbase cargo, well, soon to be camper van. So this is the unboxing, and a couple things to note that I've learned in this process, and I'll try and mention these as we go along. One, sanding them yourself. They come pretty well sanded, but giving them a little extra sand and painting them matte black with like a bed liner is, in my opinion, the way to go. So I wouldn't try and spray bed liner spray in a paint sprayer. I tried that, didn't work. It's way too thick. So don't try that. You can just brush it on and then texture it with a roller like I'm doing here. And that can save you, let's say, $800 to $1,000. So this is my process in reverse for those curious of why it started painted and then ended unpainted. And then this is the correct process, not backwards, for the other capsule. So did 2 coats on each and they look wonderful. And what's nice with this paint is it's $30 a can. Okay, next we're going to drill some pilot holes. And I don't like step bits because you're going to get right up against that perimeter there, and the step bits will cut into that. I went ahead and used a Sawzall because my jigsaw blades broke, as you're going to see here, because I'm trying to cut on an uneven surface, and I didn't know at the time that I could translate the cut pattern to the other side by using a punch to punch a hole in the metal, or a ding in the metal on the inside, and then just draw lines on the outside. So that's that. I also tried an air saw, but my air saw was the cheapest one on Amazon. It didn't work. Fortunately, the capsules don't have to be cut as perfectly as the windows. So this was just a good way to learn about cutting bigger holes in the van without as much consequence. But I may go back and cut them out even further now that I've learned a little bit more about how it works. And I may just use my grinding tool to do it. So after I got the window cut, I cleaned off all the burrs with bastard files and painted with Rust-Oleum all the metal surfaces. Here's a shot of the capsule after it's had a couple days to cure, and that's a shot of the painted metal edges ready to go. Okay, so that's what the capsule looks like after we've pre-drilled the bolt holes for it. And in the Vanspeed install, they show that, well, they tell that you have 4 install bolts for each side, 2 on top, 2 on bottom. And what they don't show is them installing 2 on top, 2 on bottom. So for this model van, I just did 2 on top on both sides because I would have to go through more framing on the bottom sides. So if you did do that on the bottom sides, please write that in the comments below, or if you find a video that shows that, please link that in the comments below so that everybody can learn that workflow. Which brings me to my other grief with that video specifically, which is it suggests you should do this in one day. If you have a driveway, you're doing this yourself, give yourself a few days. Okay, so we just used denatured alcohol to clean the surface of the van and the surface of the capsule. And now we're putting this primer. Even though the glue that comes with the capsule says it's pre-primed, they use this primer in their Vanspeed video, so I'm using it too. Okay, 3 tubes of glue. I didn't know how much we're going to use on either capsule, so I cut the other hole so that I could glue both at the same time. PP is a good thing, so that's why the person holding this piece of sheet metal is wearing gloves and a shielded face mask with headphones. Same thing you'd use if you were protecting your face and head and ears from a chainsaw. Very similar concept. All right, going ahead and fabricating this metal. Much cleaner lines on this cut, but I still wish I would have cut from the outside with a jigsaw. I think I would have done even better. So that would have just required me to translate the cut pattern. And I'll have that exact workflow in the future video of me doing the T-vent windows on the front of the van. So if you're watching this series, stick around for that. Okay, same thing as the last one. Cleaning off our metal shavings with the bastard file. And then we're going to paint all that exposed metal. Stop any rust in its tracks. We don't want this structural member to rust. Okay, see this hard metal tip? We're going to cut that right off. This is for our caulk gun. Lots of learning here. And now we're going to cut this V-notch into it. Notice how I'm cutting away from myself or down. You don't want to cut the tip of your finger off when you're cutting the tip of this thing off. Okay, now this caulk is super freaking thick and hard. So when you're trying to get this caulk out of this gun, well, you're going to need like an 18-to-1 pull ratio on your caulk gun. And that's why people spend $200 on an electric caulk gun. I broke 2 standard caulk guns trying to get the hard caulk out of this caulk gun. You could also heat up the tube in like a glass of or a bowl of warm water, and that definitely helps make the caulk less hard. But I'll put a link to like a 18-to-1 caulk gun pull ratio below, and if there's one that you particularly like or have used or recommend, put that below. Okay, after we got the caulk on and the windows mounted, I used some C-clamps and other painter's tape to hold the window in place. And then here's me doing some more caulking where there's some air gaps on the inside and I can see light through them. So definitely want to fill all that up with this caulk they give you. One trick I used was I used one of these bastard files to create a wedge here. And if you had like wood splitting wedges, you could wedge them in here and they might not scratch or create abrasion like the bastard file will, but that helped keep that seam smaller for that caulk. And so now we're ready to install our windows because it's been another day in the shop. The caulk has dried and it is now cured, and so now we can put our windows in the van.
Hey, Beba.
So these are bunk windows. So the first one's there, and I'm just doing a paper test so I can illustrate this concept of if you were to upholster behind this trim ring before you put the window in, it would look like that, and if you were to upholster after, it would look like that. Your thumb would be on the outside. I'm choosing the upholster after route, but if you have thoughts or ideas on that, please let me know. The other thing I noticed was that this window and trim ring doesn't fit super well in this opening. That made me really nervous about leakage, and in fact, the other one has a leak that at the time of this voiceover recording, I still haven't fixed. Fortunately, it's very minor, so I'm not that worried about it going into the rainy season, but it's still on the list of things to fix. Okay, so looking at our measurements here, we have about a centimeter of overlap, and then we have about 4 millimeters of gap space, and that's the concerning piece. So what I would recommend is you get some other caulk that you like or silicone of your choice, and you create your own caulk gasket for this window. And I went ahead and did that and put it on both the trim ring on the inside and the outside to help prevent leaks of this window, while also not blocking like there's drain holes, and those should be pretty apparent. So I didn't want to block those. So that is what I did. And I did a better job on the other one than this one. This was the first one I did. This one got caulked retroactively after I filled the gaps after I put this trim ring on. And that's just what I did. Another mistake I made here was I used an impact drill and I was breaking these screw heads off. Like, what I should have done was used an analog, a non-electronic Phillips head screwdriver, and slowly tighten these in a random pattern, one at a time. And if I had done that, I would not have broken a single one. What I did instead, after breaking them, because I didn't have any extras, was I went back and I used some JB Weld epoxy to fill that gap and put a epoxy screw head on the screw, which holds it in place but doesn't give it any tension or any compression. And then after that, I painted it black. Okay, so here's trim ring number 2, and I'm pre-caulking it with silicone. So we pop that on, making the same mistake again by using an electric tool. And in this one, I broke 3 screw heads. So I hope you can learn from my mistakes and not break any screw heads by using a hand tool Phillips head driver. Okay, caulking this one on the outside too. So I did inside, outside, get it nice and waterproof. At least that's what I was hoping. This one still developed a leak in the bottom right hand corner. And then I'm just doing some more paint here because it needed a little bit more to be in a spot where there is no extra metal. And this is the epoxy piece where I'm putting some epoxy filler in over these locations where I broke screws, and I just let that dry. So one thing about these flares, so this one max comes out about 4 inches. This one's about 3 inches, 8 centimeters. I think this one could have gone to 4 inches no problem on the 170 Sprinter, because you don't have to worry about the door, you know. Meaning on a 140 this needs to clear the door, but on a 170 goes right up to the door slider there, but you know, it's close to 7 centimeters away from the door. Now that we got those specs out of the way and just a general overview of the size of the capsules after they're installed, well, we're going to do some more caulking. We got some black silicone and a new caulk gun. It's not as hard as the stuff we used to glue the capsule on, which is nice. And we're just filling this gap so that water will not get in this gap and potentially form a leak point within this bunk window. So we're doing a bit of a fill and smooth sort of action, and that is our approach. Let's watch that in a slightly faster time lapse so you can get a better idea of what it's going to look like. So first we're filling the channel, and we're doing all the sides except the very bottom, because I'm not worried about water coming up from the bottom. Water's going to fall with gravity down. So we're just designing this for, and it's not a submarine, so we don't have to worry about that, right? So just water falling vertically or from the sides. We're cleaning this up with this cool little tool that came with the caulk gun I bought, and making that look real nice. Now, one thing I would have done to improve this was use masking tape or painter's tape to get even cleaner lines. Instead, I had to go back and rub that extra caulk right off that surface. And you might not have to do that if you use tape to clean it up. Okay, this is me on the other side doing the same thing again, filling this gap with black silicone. And I'm so glad I used matte black again for the paint of the capsule, because everything matches easy to that primary color. Once I finished the exterior, it was time to move into the interior. Now, when I was using that Sawzall to cut open these windows, these body panels separated, the glue that was holding them separated. Now, you can find that exact glue on McMaster-Carr's website and use it, but I just went ahead and used some of this caulk because I'm going to use spray foam insulation, which is going to be a glue of its own. And I didn't feel the need to use the exact thing Mercedes did when I know that in the future I'm going to use something that's going to do a better job of holding these body panels together. However, I had the extra caulk in the gun, so I just went ahead and used it. And now I'm just putting some paint, getting some happy trees. Just kidding, this is just black paint over the JB Weld epoxy that I used to fix the screws that I broke because I used an electronic drill when I should have used a Phillips head screwdriver to put these screws in. A little snapshot of the future. That is all Baltic birch sheets of plywood from Macbeth's in Berkeley, California. It was 25% off when I got it, and I bought a lot of it for this project.
All right, you ready?
Okay, now for the water tests of our windows. First
Good
one,
job.
didn't leak a drop. Second one, leaked some drops right next to the closure in the bottom right hand side, and I'm not 100% sure why that was happening. You can see I'm feeling along the outside edges of the trim ring for any water, and the capsule itself, not feeling any drops, so that's a good thing. No major leaks, just this tiny little minor one where the water is ingressing into the gutter the trim ring forms on the interior right there. Sorry, the filming is just not good. I should have used a tripod, but I was concerned about the water leak, and the cinematography suffered as a result. I don't know how to fix this water leak. What I thought it might be happening because the van's tilted in the driveway, but it wasn't happening on the other side. Before I got to that part of my thinking process, I went ahead and dabbed up this water with a towel and a putty knife. So I dried it all out, and then I went and I drilled some extra drain holes as a troubleshooting step right in the area on the exterior where this water was coming in. Okay, we're sideways now, but you're going to get a closer view of me drilling holes very slowly and gently into this outside area. So I'm creating 2 small drain holes so that water doesn't have to drain in that little slot next to the drill bit in the center of the screen. So I didn't want the surface tension of the water droplets to just stick it to the first hole, and that's why I put 2 holes in so that there would be more airflow to reduce that surface tension and hopefully increase draining. But we can see water draining out as soon as I drilled the first hole. So I went ahead and drilled another one. We'll use editing to make that go pretty quickly. So the issue is the van's not level. It's tilted on its side. That would be level. So you can kind of see how non-level it is. And so the water pools over there in that corner. Those are the drain holes we added. See the water draining out of those. Let's go on the inside and see if we see any water. Oh, water's still coming in. That's a bummer. Okay, I have to think about that. This side is not leaking. You can see some standing water in there. So I wonder if this trim ring is just tensioned enough more, and there's maybe caulk on the... I don't know why this one's not leaking. This is my stopping point on this video. I've showed my install, and I've also showed where I got stuck fixing that water leak. So if you have any ideas on troubleshooting steps or mitigation measures I could take to address that small water leak where it's coming into the window on that bunk window on the driver's side, please let me know in the comments below. And if I find a solution that works, I'll update the description of this video or make another video documenting what that is so that the community can have it if someone out there has the same issue I have in the future and can use the same solution. In any case, that's all I got for you today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you around.